In this section, we're going to shift our focus back to PHP. JSON was fun, but there's only so much you can accomplish with a basic language. PHP is going to help us extend WordPress. But before we get started, I need to admit something. The level of difficulty is going to be ramped up. You're inevitably going to run into problems. If that's the case, you can ask for help in the Q&A section. In some cases, I may ask you to share your codebase. The best way to do that is through GitHub. That begs the question, what is GitHub? Let's talk about it. To begin this discussion, we need to talk about Git. Over time, your project is going to evolve drastically. The current codebase for a project may look different from the codebase a year ago. In some cases, you may want to revert a project's codebase to an earlier copy. Manually reverting your changes can be a pain. Tracking the history of your codebase is an essential step for maintaining a project. Another problem that may arise is inconsistent collaboration. If you're on a team, there will be multiple copies of a codebase. What if someone on your team is working on an older version? What if you and your teammates perform different changes to a theme or plugin? Collaboration is a key component of any successful team. Git solves these problems. It is a tool that can record changes to your project over time. These changes are stored in a database called a repository. By recording your project's changes, you'll know what changed, when it changed, and why it changed. Best of all, Git can easily revert your project to older versions. What about collaboration? Git is capable of helping you and your team sync your projects together. This type of software is referred to as version control. There are various tools that can perform this type of action. However, Git is considered the best tool for a few reasons. It's open source, free, and easy to use. Over 90% of developers around the world prefer Git. This brings us to GitHub. You have the option of using Git without additional help. However, many developers prefer to work with a company that can host their projects online. On top of hosting projects, most companies offer additional tools for collaboration. The most popular platforms for hosting projects managed by Git are GitHub, GitLab, and Bitbucket. In my opinion, GitHub is considered the best platform. You're more than welcome to explore your options. With that being said, I'm going to show you how to use GitHub to host your projects. Typically, most tutorials will show you how to use Git with the command line. However, that won't be necessary. GitHub offers a desktop application for managing projects. You can skip the command line. In the resource section of this lecture, I provide a link to this tool. I want you to download and install it. While you're downloading the desktop application, create an account on GitHub. You're going to need an account. After you've got everything sorted, let's learn how to upload your project to GitHub. By uploading it to GitHub, you will be able to share your code with me when I ask for it. First things first, open the desktop application. You should have been asked to connect your account to GitHub. If not, that's fine. You can connect your account by going to File Options. The tool will provide an option for connecting your account. I'm going to connect my account. After connecting your account, we can begin uploading our project. As I stated before, Git will store copies of your project in a database called a repository. Therefore, we must create a new repository. At the top right corner, click on File, New Repository. After selecting this option, GitHub will prompt you for some basic information on your project. Let's go through the options one by one. You can call your project whatever you want. However, I highly recommend keeping the name short and concise. For this demonstration, we're going to upload our theme. The name of the repository should match the theme name. Let's set the name to Udemy. Next, we need to provide a short description. I'll set the description to the following: a WordPress theme with FSE support. Afterward, we need to point to the project directory. This is the most important step. What should you upload? You should always point to your theme folder or plugin folder. Please do not upload the entire local directory or WordPress installation. Only your theme and plugin code will be necessary. I'm going to create this repository from our themes folder. The following steps are optional. However, let's go through them. The next option will ask if you would like to create a README file. A README file is useful for creating a document that describes your project to other developers. Let's allow GitHub to create this file. The Git ignore option is another file that can be created for projects managed by Git. In some cases, you may not want to share files with your peers or the community. The Git ignore file is a list of files and directories that shouldn't be shared with others. Under the dropdown, there's an option for WordPress-based projects. GitHub can create a Git ignore file for WordPress projects. Let's select it as our option. Lastly, we can set a license. Our theme will be free. I'm going to select the MIT option, which offers the most freedom to developers. We can click Create to create the repository. This process may take a few moments. Hey everyone, this solution may not work for some of you. It's possible that the desktop application may not be able to create your new repository. In this case, you can try adding a local repository. At the top right corner, under the File menu, select the Add Local Repository option. From here, you can add the Udemy theme folder. Alright, back to the video. Once your repository is created, the hard part is over. Next, we need to commit our changes. A commit can be thought of as a save point. Git wants to know if the current updates to our project are safe to add to the repository. On the left side, you will be provided a list of files that have been updated. You can click on any of them to view the file. On the right side, GitHub will highlight the changes. Before publishing a repository, changes must be committed. Let's try committing our files. At the bottom right corner, we must provide a summary of our changes. I'm going to set the summary field to initial. The description will be left empty. Let's commit our changes. At the moment, your project is only available to you. It has not been uploaded. You can upload your project by clicking on the Publish button at the top. Let's do that. A pop-up will ask you for some final details. We're going to be uploading our project to github.com, not the enterprise version. The most important setting is the private checkbox. This option should be turned off. Otherwise, you will not be able to share your project with me for help. After making those changes, click Publish. Our project is finally available for sharing. The application should provide you with the option of viewing your project in the browser. By clicking this option, a new tab will open. The link in the address bar should be shared with me whenever I ask for it. Perfect! You have a repository dedicated to your project. If you make updates, you can publish those changes to the same repository. You've mastered the basics of Git. There's one more thing I want to show you. In some cases, it may not be necessary to upload your entire project. You may only need to share a single file. If that's the case, you can create something called a gist. At the top right corner, click on the plus icon. There's going to be an option called New Gist. A gist is a feature for sharing single files on GitHub. It's unnecessary to create an entire repository for a small snippet of code. On this page, all you have to do is provide a name, paste in your code, and click Create. Super simple. If I ask you to create a gist, this is how you would do it. Overall, that's Git and GitHub in a nutshell. There's so much more that these tools can offer. In the resource section of this lecture, I provide a YouTube video by Freed Code Camp. They have an entire rundown of all the features you'd like to know about these tools. I highly recommend checking it out if you want more information. For now, the bare basics will work. Let's get back into WordPress development.